never expected anything like this to happen. I had moved into my new apartment a few months ago, and everything seemed so perfect. Until I met Adam. He was my next-door neighbor, married with 2 kids. But there was something about him, something that made me feel alive. I first noticed him one evening when I was walking to my car. He smiled at me from his doorstep, a casual wave, but there was something in his gaze. It wasn't just friendly, it was inviting. I tried to ignore it, but I couldn't. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about him. As the days passed, I found myself thinking about Adam more and more. He'd smile at me in the hallway. Sometimes we'd exchange pleasantries, but there was always an undercurrent of something more. One evening, I was in my apartment, and there was a knock at the door. It was Adam asking if I could help him with a simple favor, something about a broken light bulb. He was standing there, close enough for me to smell his cologne, his gaze lingering just a little too long. I invited him in. That was the first time we crossed the line. That night changed everything. As he left my apartment, he kissed me, just a soft, fleeting touch on my lips. I was paralyzed. I should have stopped it, should have pushed him away, but I didn't. There was something about that kiss that made me crave more. We spent the next few days avoiding each other, but the tension between us was unbearable. I would catch him looking at me through the window, our eyes meeting just long enough to send a shiver down my spine. It felt wrong, but at the same time, it felt right. And then, one evening, it happened again. We started meeting in secret, late at night, when his wife and kids were asleep. It was supposed to be a simple affair, nothing serious, but it quickly spiraled out of control. Every stolen moment, every touch, felt like we were playing a dangerous game. The more we did it, the more addicted I became to him. His touch, his voice. But there was always this growing feeling that someone was watching us. I'd hear things at night, scratching sounds at my window, faint whispers in the hallway. I convinced myself I was imagining it, but the feeling wouldn't go away. Things started to get weird. I'd hear footsteps outside my door when I was alone, but no one would ever be there. One night, Adam and I were in the middle of something when the lights in my apartment flickered. I tried to shake it off, but then the door slammed shut behind us, even though it was locked. We both froze. I could feel a coldness creeping into the room, like someone was watching us. Adam whispered, "We need to stop. Something doesn't feel right." But it was too late. We were already too deep. After that, I started noticing strange things, objects out of place, doors that I thought I locked wide open. One morning, I found a note in my mailbox. It was written in messy handwriting. "I know what you're doing." My heart sank. Who could know? Who was watching us? I was terrified. Adam told me it was nothing, just a prank, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was always around, always watching us. I started getting paranoid, checking over my shoulder every time I left my apartment. Was someone following me? Was I being watched? I couldn't tell anymore. A week later, Adam came to my door with an envelope. He looked pale, his face flushed with anxiety. "I don't know how to say this," he said, handing me the envelope. Inside was a series of photos photos of Adam and me taken through my window. It was clear we were being watched. I felt my heart race, panic rising in my chest. We couldn't keep doing this. It wasn't just a bad decision anymore. It was a threat. But Adam wasn't ready to stop. He said we just have to be careful, to keep everything secret. But the fear started to take hold of me. What if someone had been watching us the whole time? The incidents kept getting worse. One night, I woke up to loud banging sounds in the walls, like something was trapped inside. I tried to ignore it, but the sounds grew louder. That's when I found the hole in my wall. It was small, just big enough to fit a hand through. I was paralyzed with fear. I knew what I was hearing. Someone had been watching us, and now they were inside my apartment, in the walls, in the dark. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to confront Adam. I went to Adam's apartment the next night, my hands shaking. I needed answers. I needed to know what the hell was going on. When I knocked on his door, his wife answered, but Adam wasn't there. I asked where he was, but she just smiled at me and said, "Oh, he's out with a friend. He'll be back soon." But when I stepped inside, I saw something that made my blood run cold. There was a picture on the wall, a picture of Adam, his wife, and me. I couldn't breathe. I started to back away, but before I could leave, I heard a voice behind me. I turned around, and there he was, Adam, but he wasn't alone. Behind him stood someone I didn't recognize, a man, tall, with cold, dead eyes. Adam stepped forward and whispered, "You didn't think you were the only one, did you?" The man behind him smiled, a twisted grin that sent a chill down my spine. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. I wasn't just in an affair with Adam. I was part of a twisted game, a game that had been going on for far longer than I could imagine. Adam wasn't who I thought he was, and neither was his wife. I tried to run, but the door slammed shut behind me. Adam and the stranger laughed. I felt the room close in on me. There was no escape. I was trapped. They had planned this from the beginning. The affair, the photos, the notes. They were all part of a sick game. A game I had unknowingly agreed to play. The walls were closing in, and I realized I had made a fatal mistake. I was just a pawn in their twisted game. And now, there was no way out. I woke up the next day in my apartment. Everything seemed normal. The lights were on. The walls were silent. Had it all been a dream? Number, the note was on the table. "You didn't think we were done, did you?" it read. I looked out the window. Adam's apartment was empty. His wife was gone too. The street below was quiet, but I knew the game wasn't over, and I was still their pawn. I couldn't breathe. Every inch of my body screamed for escape, but I was trapped. Adam and his accomplice, the man who I now knew had been watching me all along, stood before me, blocking every way out. I wanted to scream, but the words got in my throat. How had I gotten here? Was I just a pawn in their twisted game from the very beginning? I thought about the affair, the lies, the thrill of doing something forbidden. But now it felt like nothing more than a dark mistake. The man with Adam stepped forward, his shadow looming over me like a dark cloud. His voice was cold, void of any empathy. "You knew the risk, but you didn't stop, did you?" His words hit stepped closer, his face twisted with something I couldn't quite read. Was it guilt? Satisfaction? A mix of both? "You had to know there would be consequences," he murmured. "But there's always a way out, if you're willing to make the choice." I looked at them, my mind racing. How had it all come to this? Was I going to walk away from everything? My dignity? My self-respect? Could I even walk away from this? Suddenly, I felt a sharp pain in my chest. Not physical, but something deep within me. A realization that I'd been so consumed by the affair that I hadn't noticed how much it had changed me. I wasn't the woman I used to be, not the one who would have walked away, who would have made the right choice. A sudden noise outside broke the tension. A car pulling into the driveway. The door to the apartment creaked open. It was Adam's wife. She stepped inside, her eyes wide as she took in the scene before her. The look on her face wasn't one of anger. It was something darker, a knowing look, as if she'd been waiting for this moment. "You think you can just take what's mine?" she asked, her voice dangerously calm. "You've been playing this game with him, but you've never realized I'm always watching. I've known about you from the start." In that moment, I realized I was deeper in this than I ever thought. There was no way out anymore. The game wasn't just about Adam and me. It was about all of us, tangled together in a web of lies, betrayal, and fear. And now, the web was closing in. The last thing I remember was the feeling of being pulled deeper into the shadows. Their voices grew louder, but I couldn't tell who was speaking anymore. All I knew was that there was no escape from the consequences of my actions. I had made my choice, and now the game was over, for all of us. That's all for today. Please leave any comment under the video. It will help our channel grow. If you don't subscribe now, we probably won't see you again. But if you do subscribe, you won't miss new interesting